Out of the 6 Game of the Year nominees, which at the time of recording hasn't happened yet but almost definitely will have by the time this is posted, I've played 4 of them this year. I unfortunately skimmed over Balatro even though it's definitely the kind of thing I'd enjoy, and I haven't even got around to playing Elden Ring yet, so I'm pretty far off from considering Shadow of the Erdtree, but I played all the others. While Black Myth Wukong didn't reach the same level of critical acclaim as the other 3 I've played, nor did it beat out any of them in my own ranking, I can still understand why it's such a big deal. Even if you don't consider its place as the first real AAA Chinese game, it's also just a high-octane, spectacle-filled, polished action game that does just command attention. While a few of the areas did feel a little repetitive, for the most part the world looked amazing, with plenty of variety throughout each of its 6 chapters. One of the main critiques for Wukong was the prevalence of invisible walls, and not to say that I know more than seasoned game critics, but this really wasn't much of an issue for me. Maybe it's just a sixth sense, or just looking at the logic of the map design, but it was always pretty clear where you can and can't go, and I was very rarely finding myself up against an invisible barrier without expecting it. And because the world was so stunning, it was easy to overlook minor gripes like this, since what you can explore is sprawling and well designed. It's just an overall really strong game. The comically large selection of bosses, while some clearly had a lot more effort put in than others, meant that there was always something new to fight, and the high level of customizability with spirit attacks, armor, weapons, the skill tree, spells, potions, and I'm sure there's even more that I'm forgetting, meant that if you are struggling with any challenges, there's always something you can go back and tweak to improve your chances. Even the side quests were often just as rewarding as the main story, never feeling that arbitrary, instead further highlighting the depth of the world created. Working with the source material as well established and full of lore to learn from as Journey to the West is a genius move, not only to pay homage to the game's Chinese origins, but just as a great way to make the world feel a bit more genuine and deep. I don't have much of a reference point for the 16th century novel except what I picked up from playing this, but I do kind of love the idea that this game is essentially a fanfiction sequel to it. It's not really an issue with the game itself, but it's become a pet peeve of mine when people call Black Myth Wukong a Souls-like, since it really isn't. There's clear inspiration for the subgenre in some of the combat mechanics and exploration, but that doesn't make it a Souls-like, it's just a challenging action RPG. Minor bitch session aside, I had a great time with it, and even if it doesn't match the heights of the other Game of the Year contenders, that doesn't really matter since it's still a good game, just not the best ever.